Welcome to the Local Marketing Source Weekly Update, brought to you by localmarketingsource.com.
This week's Local Marketing Update is brought to you by Scott Gallagher. Scott is the co-founder of Local Marketing Source and has become the recognized expert in providing online marketing services to local businesses. Follow Scott on Twitter at ScottGallagher5 and on Facebook.com/ScottPGallagher.
Hey, well, good afternoon, everyone. Scott Gallagher here with Local Marketing Source, bringing you our weekly local marketing industry update. Well, I apologize for starting, 2 minutes late. You get involved and got a good big project going out right now that I just heard some good news about. So that's always a great way to start a podcast. But we've got a few different things this week to have some discussion about, and I thought based off of the other two things we're going to talk about, I would throw in a third discussion of relevance versus authority. Which link has more value? And, that question tends to come up quite a bit. But prior to getting into that discussion, I want to talk about how Google ultimately assesses the authority of web pages, and this seems to be some discussion within the internet right now. And first off, I want to talk a little bit about what Google has made changes to the Google My Business dashboard, and some of the menu changes and whatnot. And it's funny to see these changes. I had a discussion today, and somebody was asking me about one of my old videos, and in the video it was referencing Google Places, and they had mentioned that raised a little bit of concern with them to whether or not my videos, my content, my teaching was relevant, and why that hasn't necessarily changed. And while we all know to go and create a video, an effective education video, you've got to have a plan for each video, and then perhaps script it, and then record it, and edit it, and add animation, and to make everything look good. And it takes about an hour to do 1 minute worth of production of that case. So when you've got videos that are 20 minutes long and whatnot, and you need to make one little change to a reference, I say, well, here's the logistics why, but I will tell you that we don't make choices to change these videos because the meat, the bulk, the discussions, even though these videos were made 4 years ago, the fact is marketing principles have not changed, at least since I've been born. Over 40 years, we learn different little strategies, and we apply certain things to email marketing in different ways, and different headlines tend to work, and different campaigns. I get all that, but the fundamental core of marketing hasn't changed, where it's our goal to understand our audience that we're trying to communicate to, understand what the business, the product, or the service, or the individual truly is, and what they're offering, and communicate that messaging to your specific target audience that are all going to be potential customers that fit into, ideally, your ideal customer box. Really, when it boils down to it, that's all that marketing essentially is. And search engine optimization over the years has come closer and closer, and those lines have been blurred. Well, it's simple. Artificial intelligence. They say AI is the new forefront for, just checking my sound, is the new forefront for SEO. Well, an algorithm essentially, right from day one, is a form of intelligent endeavors that are artificially created, and if this happens, then do this. That's kind of how us as human beings operate in any sense. Well, that's programming code. Excuse me for 1 second while I turn off my music. I like to have music in my office, and I thought, it's just background, but it's bothering me, so it's likely in your background as well. But I'm conveying, just in a different sense, some of the same messaging that I've been conveying since I begun teaching search engine optimization in 2009, that it's just marketing. And all we're doing is applying it through different channels and different mediums. And so when we start to open up the discussion of, well, the changes at Google, they're constantly changing their dashboards. They're constantly updating their algorithms. They're changing the names of things from Google from Google Places to Google My Business. And those changes are understandable. Right off the bat, the name Google Places. They're trying to bring in some new terminology and concepts when Google My Business. I'm a business owner and I'm a plumber, and that's all. I don't know much about this interweb. Google My Business. It makes sense. You know, these simple little changes like that. But the fundamental operation of what Google Places or Google My Business ever really wanted to accomplish was easy functionality, so businesses can get themselves on the internet, and predominantly and preferably through Google's platform. So changing their dashboard and whatnot, Google has done what marketing should do, is they are consistently reaching out to their audience and trying to figure out what's best for them. Some of us call different split testing and A/B testing and multivariate testing. You know, it gets very complex and over-convoluted. A lot of people just tend to overthink that. And so when we're trying to work with SEO, we don't need to know how the algorithm works. If we're trying to market a dentist on the internet and our core focus is getting them found on search, well, I call that SEO, or the industry calls that SEO, and I have to call that SEO because now business owners understand what SEO is. It's getting to the top of Google organically. And for me to create trust and authority out on the internet, take off the internet marketing hat and just think of being inside that business and potential people that are going to spend money at that business. What are they really looking for? You can say a dentist. And a lot of dentists, they can't be everything, all types of dentists. Some are cosmetic, some are pain management, some focus on sedation. They have different whitening techniques. They all have a general DDS. They're all general dentists. Some of them could get designations like implantologist. And so if they've gone to school and gotten their, you know, implantologist designation along with their general dentistry, and, you know, you learn that there's more profit in doing implants than there is general dentistry, and you'll learn that it's more difficult to perhaps work with children, so they don't want to focus on families, and learning more about that particular dentist, well, then you're going to create content that's relevant for that scenario, and then, of course, get it into people that are looking, middle-aged individuals that live within a certain vicinity that need to get dental implants, not families, not somebody that's looking to save money. You're not going to have special promotions that say, you know, this off. And how are you going to get out to these young professionals? Well, they're a part of many different local associations and networking groups. So if you buddy up with those associations, then you can feed your message through them. And how are you going to do that offers value to these associations? Well, let's simplify that with the Chamber of Commerce or the local newspaper. And that local business is doing something of value to the community. Well, the local newspaper wants to tell the community about all the good things that are going on in that community, so you do good things to your community, and they talk about you. You got to let them know about it. That's a press release. writing a press release in a professional forum. You learn these ways to do that. Or the Chamber of Commerce. That the Chamber of Commerce has a bunch of professionals that are paying them money, and they know that they've got to look good in the presentation. And you create an article about a good smile with having to have dentures and the options for a professional to choose different types of dentures and the implications for that. Well, if you're published on the Chamber of Commerce blog, if you're published in the local newspaper, and you're a local business, and you do this month after month after month after month, you're an influential business within that community, and you offer value to that community. So these publications, especially if it's with the local newspaper as opposed to Johnny's blog, it's going to have some trust and authority. Well, that's translated and pushed back down to that business profile, which in turn helps it rank higher on Google. We all know these things, I think. If you're with Local Marketing Source, you should do that. So, how does Google calculate authority these days? Is it really important to know that Google's RankBrain system is a major factor in ranking, and that their ranking system involves over 200 different major signals? You know that Search Engine Land puts out the SEO success factors, the periodic table of success factors, just like the periodic table of elements, and applying even a science look to the fact of SEO. And we look at it, and there are two sides to it, on the page factors and off the page factors. And when we start to look through all of the different on the page factors, it's, hey, can all the different devices out there be able to read everything? Is the information in a readable format? We start to talk about on the page factors like title tags, the architectural aspect of it. Can it be crawled? Is there duplicate content that's on there? Is it mobile friendly? Does it load fast? Does the location, the URL, make sense? Does it show different information to search engines as humans? Is there a good description that's in there, just like the back of a published book, or a title, or titles of pages versus chapters of books? These are all the on-the-page factors, and really it's common sense to ensure that the user can get the best out of it. And off the page factors are engagement and authority and the history of it. The privacy, what type of ads are on there? Is it quality content? How many other people reference you? And we overcomplicate these things with certain metrics that we don't need to know, but engagement is really simple, of course. If somebody's engaging with you, liking your stuff, sharing your stuff, commenting on your stuff, then you've got some high engagement. If you've got more engagement than all the other dentists in your community, a bigger following, you get a better score for engagement. I talked about authority, quality. Well, what types of sites are referencing you, if any? So authority and quality, quality content gets the same scores for authoritative content. Where is it coming from, the location of it, etc. So Google's built into their algorithm these different factors that they look at all these different things. And they run it through some mathematical equation and put some arbitrary binary code attached to it. So in terms of the SEO world, finally, I want to talk about, relevance versus authority. Does it have any different values of, the different links when pursuing a particular link? What's more important, a relevant place or an authoritative place? I mean, there are two metrics that are really at the forefront of people in the SEO world, or people in the SEO world that call themselves link builders. But at the end of the day, both relevancy and authority should be a part of the entire evaluation of the algorithm. But if you're writing content, what do you think is going to be a little bit more important? And while we can look at the metrics of each of these, we could look at, referral traffic, for example, and conversions of referral traffic. That's going to be aspects of relevance. So if you are published in that, going back to the same example, if you are published in that newspaper and people that are reading it are clicking on it and going over to your business, and they're doing it more than other press releases that newspaper has done consistently, then your relevance score is inevitably going to go up, because it's relevant, it's important. That newspaper itself is going to have certain engagement scores that translate down to you. I mean, we can roll this back to different levels, and that's why the SEO community and industry is just so complex. It doesn't have to be. I think it's pretty relevant that if I get published in the local chamber of commerce, which for most cities and villages and towns and communities, the chamber of commerce is typically the de facto business networking group. But there's others, there's dozens, there's several online. And the same thing for publications. How, they measure that in their readership, or, radio measures it's in listenership. So, newspaper readership, if that's bigger, then that source is going to be more relevant. And within that source itself, if they're getting, they're getting an above average pass-through rate, click-through rate, it's going to skyrocket. So how do you get the most out of that? Well, you identify the biggest local publications for local businesses, and you really take your time in the building and creating a press release that somebody's going to enjoy and read and want to know more about. So we use our marketing skills to create a piece that's going to encourage a click-through rate. Well, that's copywriting. And there's really no secret to that. It's just kind of leaving, you think of soap operas. I like to talk about, if I'm teaching email marketing, I talk about the SOS sequence. And I teach how to write content in the form of a soap opera. And a soap opera never ends. It always leaves the viewer hanging at the end of it until the next episode. There's a lot of sitcoms that operate on that front now as well. One of my ones that I'm watching right now is The Last Man on Earth. And in a sense, it's a soap opera. Whether it's, wrestling or on television or whatnot, there's just so many different examples in our lives that we don't need to go to experts to learn about, how to copyright. Just, use with what you've learned. We've all watched TV and see how suspenseful dramas are created. And that's going to get you a higher engagement within that piece, and of course build your relationship stronger with the editor of those publications for other clients that you may have that want to go through that channel. And, in the local world, if we're looking for links, as people like to call them, we're looking for authoritative links. Well, writing a good piece and getting it to the top dogs. It's that simple. So that's all I have to say today. I'll take 30 seconds and come back and answer any questions that Local Marketing Source members may have. All right, let's, nobody's got their hand up. Let me go and look in the question box. No, I don't have anything in the question box. I guess because in terms of my content, right? What am I going to discuss every week at a podcast? It's got to be relevant, right? It's got to command some authority. It's got to have some value to it. Can't waste people's time. I got to know my audience and what do they want to hear. They don't want to hear the magic button, and I can't give them that. But in any event, I want to thank everybody for your time today, and we'll talk to you next week. Well, thanks for watching the Local Marketing Industry Update. We've got these things coming out every single week, so if you liked with what you heard, just click the button right above me right here to subscribe to our channel. If you'd like to get a little bit more, right over here, go check out localmarketingsource.com. We've got free reports that you can grab. You can even register for a free marketing course to get in and see the portal. Or just go ahead and follow us on some of the social channels. We'll be around. Until next time.